This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great show coming up. We are going to chop it up with Joe Pascucci. I love Scooch. We haven't had him on in a bit. We're going to get his thoughts on the Jets offseason, what we've seen from the Bombers lately. And then we're going to head out to Buffalo, New York, talk goaltending, talk Sabres, Jets, potential trade with Marty Biron. Very interesting to get the Buffalo side of things, where things are at. Marty will join us. And, of course, the Bombers are practicing ahead of what we expect to be the Dru Brown revenge game Sunday night, 6 p.m. We'll have the latest from Winnipeg Blue Bomber practice with Darrin Bauming. And we'll hear from Dru Brown coming up in a little bit as well. So it should be a good one. Jake Bolin Moss will join us. We'll get ready for the Open Championship tomorrow. And, of course, coming up at the top of the hour, England and Argentina in the World Cup semifinal. Winner will move on to play the Spaniards, who shocked France yesterday, beating them 2-0. Just an unbelievable performance by Spain. So who will Spain play? We'll find out later on today. We'll keep you up to date on that one as it goes. We also have a date for the Jets home opener. We'll talk about that. Going to be a fun show tomorrow. We will have the full schedule in our hands, and we will break it all down for you here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, do want to thank all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet. New episode of CFL 110 is up, and this is your reminder to get your picks in for the Coolbet weekly pick'em contest. It's all up, ready to go under the Coolbet League, and while you're there, make sure to jump in the Open Championship free pick'em. Over $1,000 in prizes for this one. You want to go in and you're just picking the number of strokes for each player in the matchups, and then you come back and do it again before round 2, round 3, and round 4. Good luck to all of you. I will be in there, and so will Michael Remis. I also want to thank, of course, Chud's Power Sports, Princess Auto, Clean Line, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake and Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Rollies Transfer, our friends at St. Vital Dental Center, and we will dive into a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. All right, Michael Remis, get in here. Welcome to everyone listening on the pod. Shout out to all of you that are with us on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Well, before we get to anything, how was the Creed experience last night at Canada Life Center?
Yeah, I got headphones in, but my ears still ringing. I forgot my earplugs for the show. Fantastic performance last night at Canada Life Center. Has the entire crowd singing the last 4 songs or so, every word. Great encore. Had a great time at the Creed show.
What was the last song? Did they finish with "Can You Take Me Higher"? Was that?
No, I think
it?
"Higher" was the end of the first, like before the encore. It was "My Sacrifice." Was the closing? You know every word, Huss. You've heard it a million.
Yeah, I mean, I've been
times.
subjected to that song numerous times against my own free will and volition. But I talked to some guys that work at the rink later on last night, and they said it was a good crowd. It was like 11,000 people that were for it, so well into the 300s.
Yeah, and I went for the opener, or the second opener, Big Wreck, who you've heard all the time on Power 97, like early 2000s. And I was shocked. I knew like every song. And
They've got hits.
And it was like almost full for Big Rec 2 in there. So I was pretty impressed.
What was the first opener?
It was Wolfgang Van Halen, his band Mammoth. That's Eddie Van Halen's son. I did not make it in time for the show starting at 7, but made it for Big Rec and Creed. Great night of early 2000s rock at Canada Life Center.
Now just quickly, I mean, we do want to get to the schedule and the Bombers and all that, but I have to ask you were mentioning off air, did you have an incident of concert recording etiquette, a potential breach of concert recording etiquette last night amongst your group?
So we were in the section like 120, like we were far away on the side, and there was a guy behind one of my friends recording the show on his phone. Perfectly fine, people record the show, but he was like outstretching his hand like all the way basically over my friend's shoulder, like trying to get as close as he could from section 120. And we were like breathing on my friend, or I got whistling in their ear, right in their ear, because they're trying to get, I guess that extra inch matters on a phone video. And so then we kind of started, or my friend started pulling out the lyrics on his phone and like holding it up like that, and then I think got the hint and moved away.
That was the defense.
Yeah, it was. I think people record their phone, especially the last songs, and people are holding their phones up. But I mean, there are other people there, and maybe sometimes people are so into the music and don't realize that everyone's trying to have a good experience.
I think the move to do on that, if you are literally getting like a phone over your shoulder, is just to start singing really loud, so the entire audio of the video is you singing, and then potentially maybe just go in a little bit and like try and like get in the shot. And at that point, that'll stop pretty quickly.
Trying to get in the shot as like giving a subtle hint was a defense that was used as well. So,
speaking of subtle hints, what a segue. We've got the home opener is set for the Jets Friday, October 2nd. It's go time at Canada Life Center for the Jets home opener. We'll find out whether they play on the road first. The league is starting at the end of September this year, earlier in the week. Jets will be at home on the 2nd. And Remo, pull up. Here it is. This is the Jets Instagram page, along with Canada Life Center, promoting the home opener. And there you have it. There's the captain, Adam Lowry. There's Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey. And they've got a bunch of slides here, Reem. Why don't you just roll through these to get hyped? Their home opener, me, Scheifele, and Connor. That's a good one. The captain, Adam Lowry, he's fired up. There's more Scheif. More Connor. Cole Perfetti doesn't even have a contract. Don't worry. We plan on Cole being there. He's in the post. There's the scoreboard, the rink. Okay, that's good. Oh, there's Josh Morrissey, J-Mo, doing a little slide after a big goal. Looking forward to seeing him at the home opener this year. Who else do we have? Well, there's more Mark Scheifele. There's the squad, the starting lineup. You can see Iafallo and Dylan DeMello in there. I think there's one more. Cole Perfetti and Mark Scheifele. So I have to admit, I mean, I'm fired up for the home opener, but I could not help but notice, Remis, that in 11 panels of player photos, the most decorated Jet of all time, Connor Hellebuck, is nowhere to be seen anywhere in what the Jets have put out for their home opener. Just an observation.
Yeah, I don't know if that means anything. Like, I don't think the social media team is going to be in the, player meetings, or maybe they are. They did get that great video of them picking Viggo Bjork at the draft, but They could be following the rumors, or it could be directive. They said, "Hey, can you give us?" They said, "Hey, can you give me some pics for this post?" And Chevy didn't give them any ones of Connor Hellebuck. I'm not sure. Maybe they're following the news, Huss, just like us. So I have no idea the link between social media department and the player personnel department. But everyone is noticing in the comments. They posted, that's a big carousel, Huss. 11.
Yeah.
It wasn't like 2 pictures. You'd be like, oh, well, we had to pick 2 guys. Like, this is 11 pictures, deliberately not including Connor Hellebuck. And I'm assuming to prepare us for life without the multi-Vezina winning and Hart Trophy winning goaltender.
Yeah, listen, I mean, knowing how things work, with teams and with social teams, there's a very clear directive from their bosses. This is what you want to make sure you have in. This is our look this year. This is how we're branding. And these are the no-nos. And let's just say that if a guy has 1 foot out of town already and there is a large question as to whether they'll be on the team, you're not putting them in. But when it's a player of the statue of Hellebuck, it doesn't go unnoticed. So take that for what it's worth, Jet fans. If you've thought that it was all just smoke and this has all been a lot of BS and there's no chance he's getting traded or anything like that, I think what we saw from the Jets today will tell you that it is still very much a possibility, potentially even a likelihood. And as they say, the waiting game continues when it comes to things. The only thing we were missing, Reem, was that they really wanted to make a statement, though. They could have done some sort of an AI photo and showed Stuart Skinner in a Jets jersey and had him in the 11 photos.
Yeah, what a reveal that would be. And I'll give a shout out to Patrolman Pete. He says, come on, Remo. This is the hockey equivalent of a wife deleting all Instagram pics of her, I think he means ex-husband. But it does kind of feel that way. So I don't think the Jets have gone and deleted any pictures of Connor Hellebuck, but we're all paying attention to the news and the rumors out there being spread by insiders and a lot of speculation, so I don't think they needed to.
What will be interesting, speaking of that, and Patrolman Pete, great analogy of scrubbing the feed of your now ex. Listen, Hellebuck has been in a lot of ways in the face of the franchise the last few years, certainly after winning the Hart Trophy. I mean, if you walk through the concourse of the walkway up there, there's a bunch of big things with Hellebuck on it. You go by the pro shop, a massive thing with Hellebuck. They often freshen those things up and get some new picks and whatnot for the start of the season. So I'm not sure if any of that's done. I haven't really been down around the rink very much as of late, but I am quite interested to see the new look of the marketing materials and things are out there and see if there's any sign of a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner and a Hart Trophy winner in the mix.
I was at Canada Life Center, what I mentioned yesterday, for the concert, Sunday for the Sabres. They do have a big picture of him outside one of the Jets gear locations. So I imagine they'll have to change that if he's no longer on the team anymore, but something to follow the Jets marketing. I did find interesting that Perfetti was on. He does, as you mentioned, he doesn't have a contract. We are paying attention to the hearing date, July 20. We haven't seen any numbers, reported numbers exchanged. You hope something gets done this weekend. You don't want to have to deal
Monday. Yeah,
that's Monday. So this weekend would be the time. So get ready, Huss, to be near any produce sections announcing hopefully a long-term extension.
Yeah, that would be nice if we got some clarity maybe on Friday going into the weekend, a little signing beforehand, either that or a bunch of suspense and then a deal on Monday, which we can talk about it here on WST. Shout out to Tico Napoli in the chat. This goes back to the Creed chat at the start of the show. What? Earplugs at a rock show? I'm confused.
Well, they're like ones that like let sound in, but get rid of the high frequencies so you don't damage your hearing. I'm getting old, Huss. The ears don't bounce back like they used to. So just trying to be responsible out there.
You got to be a good listener in this industry. You got to be able to hear. So that is, you take care of those ears, Remis. You take care of those ears. Some big news in the NHL today. Steve Yzerman is out as the president and GM of the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I'll read you what was reported earlier today. First of all, this is from Elliot Friedman. In a major development, the Red Wings announced Steve Yzerman is stepping down as the team's head of hockey operations and becoming an advisor to Chris Ilitch. A search for the team's next president GM is underway. The post from first thing this morning was the Red Wings announce a leadership transition. And of course, I mean, it was all platitudes for Yzerman, who is a Detroit sports and hockey legend. Steve's lifetime contributions to the Wings has meant more to this franchise than words can truly express. Highest level of respect for his commitment to the organization. We're thankful for Steve's hard work and dedication as GM and are grateful knowing Steve will remain where he belongs, here with the Red Wings family. They said the Wings will begin a search to find its next leader of hockey ops, led by Chris Ilitch, of course, who is advised by Steve Yzerman now. Both internal and external candidates will be considered. In the interim, Yzerman will remain in his current role and facilitate the day-to-day hockey ops and ensure its seamless transition until a successor is named. And he will serve in an advisory capacity on the search committee for a new hockey ops leader. And then it kind of mentions who else is there. So, and this is big news. And I mean, it's hard to talk about this news without talking about the Dylan Larkin situation, Remis. And there's a lot of, I mean, many people have compared the Larkin and the Hellebuck situations, both U.S. Olympians, both reportedly wanting out, both with no move clauses. The big difference is that Larkin gave them 3 teams, Florida, Vegas, and Minnesota. Hellebuck has certainly been, I think, a more malleable to some other options, and that's why we've heard so much about Buffalo, and reportedly that Hellebuck can and wants to go to the Buffalo Sabres if they can make that trade happen. So that is big news. I mean, the guy's an NHL hockey legend, a Detroit hockey legend, did such great work with building that Tampa Bay Lightning team, and it just has not happened for him in Hockey Town. And, you know, they could be on the verge of sort of resetting a rebuild if they have to trade Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, 10 straight years they haven't made the playoffs. And, you know, they been pretty bad, but they never got the lottery luck, so they never got that top pick. But you look at a lot of the draft picks that they've made, they haven't panned out. I remember when they picked, Philip Zadina was one of their top picks. Really didn't work out. And you look at some of the signings they've made, and they've handed out some bad contracts. I don't want to slag a couple former Winnipeg Jets, but Andrew Kopp and Ben Sherratt, they're pretty overpaid.
Andrew Kopp's their number 2C.
Relative to their
number 1C if Dylan Larkin leaves the building.
Yeah, overpaid relative to their role. And he's actually on an expiring deal at 5.6, which in today's cap world seems like a decent contract for, a 32-year-old center. He's going to the last year of his deal. And so it just hasn't worked out for Detroit. They made that trade for Justin Falk. It wasn't a good trade to try to squeak into the playoffs. I thought I was very high on Yzerman in Tampa. It seemed like everything they did worked. A lot didn't work here, and they couldn't get in the playoffs. And it seemed like a nice way of firing him, saying that he stepped away. I don't know if they fired him or not, but it's not a good look when you fire a hockey legend. That's the risk when you put these guys in these positions, because there's a lot of Red Wings fans. Growing up, you love Steve Yzerman as a player, but as a GM, it didn't work out during his tenure, and they didn't make the playoffs. It's been a rough go.
Yeah, it seems like something had to give here. And I'm sure the hope of the organization that this move that is made, regardless of who initiated it, kind of cools things down between the team and their captain, Dylan Larkin, and we can get him back in the mix. But, I mean, the bottom line is that they are, I mean, right now, if he's refusing to play, he can sit out. I don't think that's going to happen. But then coming back after everything, I mean, I think that there's going to be, some blowback from the fan base. And bottom line is we're going to see how much this guy wants to get traded or whether he just wants to go to 3 particular teams. Because as I've said before, I mean, unless they want to take a big futures-based package, which I don't think the Wings have the appetite to do that, considering the last 10 years, as you just laid out, it's going to be very difficult to make that move. So that's the latest from Detroit. See what Marty Biron thinks about that. He's going to join us coming up a little bit later on the program. But the Bombers back at practice, Remo. We're going to be getting the latest from Darrin Bauming. But as we touched on yesterday, all signs point to Dru Brown getting the opportunity to go up against his former team. Some good news today from Blue Bomber practice that Brady Oliveira was practicing after taking yesterday off. No Nick Dembski. Cam Lawson and Tua Eli not there. That's the second straight day for Lawson. And as far as the quarterback goes, Zach Caleros dressed, but limited in practice. And it is Dru Brown first up for the Bombers. And with that, I think we can all pretty much lock in Dru Brown getting his opportunity to let Ryan Dinwiddie know that he blew it with his quarterback decisions at the start of the year.
Yeah, shout out to Derek Taylor posting the updates on X, and it does seem like Dru Brown will get the start. It's the right thing to do, to start him in this game after the performance on, very short week last week with the Friday game, coming out of a Sunday game, and then again with the being cut by not being cut, but not really given a chance in preseason, and Jake Mayer getting the ball as a starter, perfect chance for revenge, and the Bombers should let him get that. I'm sure he'll be motivated. Dru Brown kind of playing it like it's not a big deal to him, but you imagine that it has to be. And, he's just named 3rd star of the week yesterday, had a great performance. I'm sure it's going to be a great one. Another reason to watch on Sunday night.
Yeah, well, let's hear from Dru Brown. Here is Dru on getting the win in his first start back with the Bombers and the emotions heading into a possible start against his former team, the Redblacks, on Sunday night on the road.
Pretty good. Definitely things to clean up and improve on, but overall, felt like we moved it pretty well. Just got to maybe clean up a little bit of things as we're on the field longer.
I know you're a very even-keeled guy, and you say you don't like to get too high, too low. Have you allowed yourself to anticipate what the feelings might be if you play Ottawa this week?
Not really. I know it sounds like I'm lying, but I really do kind of live that way. You could ask my wife. But yeah, I don't necessarily think about any of the emotions that go into it. I just kind of focus on what I need to do to help us if that were to happen.
Some guys use that. I mean, even Zach last week was telling me that for him, it never really goes away, that feeling. And the first time you play that team, it's really strong. And some guys use it. You don't need it?
Yeah, I just think not that that's wrong. I think I'm just a little bit more, my mind is maybe a little bit more practical, and just I've never really needed to, as I've been an adult, I've never really needed to be motivated to do my job. I'm more motivated by my habits that I do daily, and those things don't change. So it doesn't matter how I feel, those get done. And when you get on the field, you have a process that you stick to that works pretty well, and you do your best to stick to it and not waver one direction.
All right, so there's Dru Brown, who we expect to get the starting nod for the Bombers in Ottawa this weekend. We'll talk about that with Scooch coming up in just a minute. Here's one more from Brown, who talked about adjusting to the Bombers playbook after coming over from Ottawa to begin the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it helps that my old OC is here. And that to me, working with him is awesome. He takes feedback. He wants me to be comfortable with what we're doing. Obviously a lot of the stuff that we do here was stuff that we've done in the past together. A few things here and there that he's added or, removed. So I kind of knew that the plays itself weren't going to be the issue. It was maybe some more of like some of the operational things that have changed, which is as simple as like a cadence, right? The cadence you say every play. You're with a different system and it's like you say hut and then here you say set hut. And it's just something that you repeat so much that it becomes kind of something you don't think about. So that's just me, walking around my house and making sure that I'm saying it properly.
What goes into preparing for the Ottawa Redblacks? What's their defense bring?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are super physical. They play hard. They have really good scheme. And their player, like front to back, the players are super talented. You got to go out and they have good schemes. So you got to figure out, what it is they're doing. And then you got to play well physically as well because, they got a lot of talent.
All right, there's Dru Brown of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. DB was in the scrum. He'll join us later on today on the program. Do want to thank our friends at Cleanline. Speaking of the Bombers, proud sponsors of the Bombers. Actually saw the Cleanline mascot for the first time out on the sidelines a couple of games ago. Of course, Cleanline is the residential and commercial plumbing experts for Winnipeg plumbing, heating, and electrical services, but mostly known for being Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. And the number you need to remember, stick it in your phone, 204-500-2001. That's Cleanline's 24/7 emergency services. So while you weren't planning on it, you don't necessarily want to call when you're in a jam, Cleanline has you covered. 500-2001. And of course, you can find out more on Cleanline services and make an appointment online at cleanline.ca. Another proud Bomber sponsor is Manitoba Battery, who's powering the Big Blue this season. And of course, has been powering Winnipeg Sports Talk for years. Manitoba Battery is your local option for the best in batteries for literally everything. As we're going out into the summer, you need a golf cart battery, something for your dirt bike, obviously your car, but a boat, an RV. They have it all at the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores. You'll also get customer service at Manitoba Battery you just simply won't find anywhere else, including delivery services available on anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, and get the best in customer service with Manitoba Battery. You can visit them on Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive, or order online today at manitobabattery.com. And just before we bring in Scooch, if you have a move planned this summer or fall, folks, time to get on it and lock in with our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. They're family-owned and operated for over 60 years. And, of course, have an amazing website at Rollies.com where you can find all about the Rollies story, their extensive services throughout Winnipeg and southern Manitoba. You can also click on Request an Estimate in the top right corner. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let her know when and where you're moving, what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service they've been famous for, now into their 7th decade. So for all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today or request an estimate online at Rollies.com. All right, let's bring in our pal Joe Pascucci for a chat today. Scooch, what's going on? How are you? It's great to have you back on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Oh, wait a second. We are muted. Is that on our end, Reem?
He's got a lot of microphones there. Let me pick this
All right.
one, I think.
Let's see if that one works.
Is that better?
There we
There you
go.
go.
Scoot, what's
Oh,
going
okay.
on? Welcome back to the show.
It is great to be back. You asked about Toronto. Well, it's very hazy in southern Ontario. Apparently, we have the worst air quality in all the world today because of the fires in northern Ontario. So it's pretty much an indoor day. Of course, with all the heat, you're indoors anyway. But it's great. And, you were talking about the Jets. I was just wondering, do you think because Rolly's transfer is a sponsor of yours, they might give you a heads up if Hellebuck gives them a call?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, maybe that will be the case. I have a feeling that we'll probably know of the need for a move before a call is made to the moving company. But I'll tell you what, if everything's coming out of the house right now, that would also be an indication.
Yeah.
And we got a pretty good indication when the Jets announced their home opener and dropped 11 player pictures and no Connor Hellebuck to be found. So it is what it is. But hey, listen, just before we dive into that situation in Bombers, you mentioned being out in Toronto. Did you take in any of the World Cup? What was it like? Even being in the area, like I went out for the first game. I was at Canada, Bosnia. I was there for that weekend and it was so fun, but it was just right at the start. Obviously Toronto being a host city, there were people from all around the world coming in, finishing up with that insane Croatia Portugal game. Did you get into it? What was the experience like just being in the area?
Just at a local pub or two. I avoided downtown. I live out in Georgetown, which has an extremely large Portuguese and Croatian community here. So it was a war here in the town that I live in, with the cars and their flags and the people, all friendly, of course. But it was quite funny that there was kind of a war in Georgetown with Croatia and that Portuguese game. But I know that the events were warmly received. Everyone had a good time. It went off pretty much without a hitch here in Toronto and in Vancouver, for that matter. It's been a outstanding World Cup from start to finish. And we all thought that at the beginning, with all the reports that there'd be empty seats, that the fans wouldn't come, but that hasn't definitely been the case. This has been one of the best World Cups, if not the best World Cup in my lifetime anyway.
Yeah, it has been so much fun. And listen, we've only got a few games left. We'll find out who's in the final this afternoon. And then just 2 more games on the weekend. The 3-4 game on Saturday, and then the game for all the marbles on Sunday. But before we dive into Bombers and CFL, we mentioned Hellebuck. I mean, what's your read on this situation, Joe?
Well, I mean, I don't blame Connor in any way, because, I mean, when he signed with the Jets, it was pretty much a sweetheart deal. When Shesterkin's getting over $12 million with the Rangers, Hellebuck is, I would think, a better goaltender than Shesterkin, and the way he's carried this hockey team at times, especially during the regular season. We won't talk about the playoffs. But, I mean, he did sign with the hope and the intention and the promise that the Jets would be competitive for the Stanley Cup. And obviously, GM Kevin Cheveldayoff can't make that promise anymore at this point, that the Jets would be competitive and competing for the Stanley Cup. So I don't blame him for, maybe requesting a move elsewhere or being open to a move elsewhere. I think that he re-signed with the Jets with the intention of finishing his career here, as long as the team was competitive and, competing for the Stanley Cup every season. And obviously, after what we saw last year, this team is not yet at that level that they once were.
I'll be honest, I don't think Connor Hellebuck was at that level either last year. I think he was a big part of it.
Oh, that's true. Yes, definitely.
And on top of it, my read on this is everything changed after the Olympics. Like that entire Olympic experience for Hellebuck and being lauded as a hero. And I think there's a lot of people around him, frankly, that realize truthfully, and I won't debate this at all, that his marketability and everything as a star player is so much more in the United States today. as opposed to here north of the border in Canada. And like, to be honest, if it's all about winning the Stanley Cup, like, listen, I know Buffalo had a nice 4 months and they won a playoff round, but I mean, please, at this point, they just lost Alex Tuck, they lost Bolin Biron. I don't look at the Buffalo Sabres and saying, well, listen, outside of Florida and a couple of teams, that's the team knocking on the door. So to me, this is about getting to the States. This is about something that will be definitely good for him as a brand. Not coincidentally, he started an Instagram. The guy hates social media. Who the heck's doing that? I think we all know. That's agents, that's marketing people, that's people around him. But to me, I mean, I think that it's just difficult because he does have a great contract, as you mentioned. And from a Jets perspective, he's their best and most important player. You can't make a deal that puts the team in a big deficit position. Like, this trade isn't going to be for, I'll give you a loony, you give me 3/4, if you know what I'm saying. And it puts Cheveldayoff into a position that he is familiar with. And has
come out on top before.
Well, absolutely. And to Hellebuck's credit, in stark contrast to what's happened in Detroit with Dylan Larkin, he seems to be pretty open to a bunch of spots, which again tells me it's less about what he said at the end of the year and more about getting to the United States. But again, it doesn't really matter, does it, Joe? If he wants out and the team doesn't want someone here that doesn't want to be there, yes, they're acting in it. But it is clear that trading a player of this stature, it takes time, and it's going to take the right deal for Hellebuck to actually be moved from the Jets.
Yeah, and the Kevin Cheveldayoff, obviously, I mean, he's been watched on every move that he makes with the Jets. He has to come out, on even terms, if not ahead, in this one. And I can't see Kevin trading him to a team in the West. It has to be a team in the East. And you would think that Detroit would be the better landing spot for Hellebuck, brings him back home. But Carolina, maybe that's a spot, but we don't hear too much about Carolina. It's just been Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. That's all you're hearing about. I listen to WGR 55, the sports radio station in Buffalo a lot. So they do talk about Connor Hellebuck, but they also, bring up his past playoff performances, some of their commentators. So they're kind of hedging. They're almost like saying, well, do we really need him? So
he gets the pass, I think, from a lot of people in the playoffs, because the playoff game that mattered the most, he literally stole a gold medal from Team Canada last February, and I think
that only goes so far. That doesn't help you in the playoffs, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you perform as he has in the past with the Jets. I mean, he has had some great games. Obviously, he didn't have his best series against St. Louis, but they still won that series. And they were 2 minutes away from disaster.
He got bailed out. Yeah. And he didn't play that bad. He didn't play that bad in the Dallas series. No, he had 2 shutouts. I mean, on the road, I was at the games in Dallas. I mean, there's a few that you didn't like. I mean, like that Michael Granlund hat trick, a couple of goals that he scored from where they were. I mean, listen, if you're the best goalie in the world, you maybe need to make that save. And what's interesting, get your thoughts on Stuart Skinner's signing. Because, I mean, he's a much maligned guy. He's also a guy that's been to 2 Cup finals, and might I remind people, outdueled Jake Ottinger twice in a 7-game series, which was not something the current Jet netminder can say.
Yeah, it is a good signing. That is a good signing, and obviously he wouldn't. I can't believe he came here to be the backup to Connor Hellebuck. No. I mean,
they're the same agent.
His career needs it's the same agent. His career does need a reset, right? And I think the Jets are further ahead than the Penguins, even though the Penguins do have Sidney Crosby. But I think the Jets are a little further ahead than the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think this is a good spot for him. The team will definitely play a little better defensively in front of him than the Edmonton Oilers did. And I think he has something to prove. And those are sometimes the best players to have on your team, is the guys that have something to prove or something to play for.
Joe Pascucci's with us. Scooch, I mean, this is the soap opera we've been
Yes.
Enjoying, I guess, to some extent throughout the year. But let's move on to the Canadian Football League. Very interesting happenings around the league quarterback-wise. Like the first few weeks, it was just unprecedented amount of points. Every quarterback outside of what was happening in Ottawa seemed to be absolutely rolling. And then it was the Bomber-Hamilton game where Zach Collaros gets hurt. Bo Levi Mitchell gets really hurt. And the Ticats are a disaster. But here in Winnipeg, the very wise move of the Bombers to get Dru Brown out of Ottawa the week before paid off with the first win. I mean, thoughts on the Bombers at 3-2 going into Ottawa for what looks like the Dru Brown revenge game against Ryan Dinwiddie as the starter?
I know Dru Brown won't mention it as the revenge game. I know I heard the coach yesterday, Mike O'Shea, downplaying that.
Of course, they're pouring water all over it.
Of course, but Mike O'Shea doesn't want any kind of media attention at all. But Hamilton looked to be the best team in the CFL until Bo Levi went down, and now they have nothing on offense. They have a great defense, and that defense kept them in the game against Saskatchewan. And I'm just wondering, after watching that game, how did Jake Dolegala beat the Bombers? It made no sense to me how he beat the Bombers when he was with the Rough Riders. He looked terrible in that game, and obviously they're in big trouble, and they got to find a quarterback. Ottawa, I don't know what Ryan Dinwiddie was thinking. Like, we saw Jake Mayer when he was playing with the Calgary Stampeders, and he couldn't do the job there, given all the opportunities that he had. So obviously he saw something that the rest of us didn't see. And Dru Brown, what really amazed me on Friday, I didn't get to see the game live because I was in Montreal working. But what I did see was just how comfortable he looked running the offense, how the offense just seemed to move the ball up and down the field. They were throwing deep, they were throwing short, they were getting good running production from Oliveira. It just seemed to be in sync. And I don't think I've seen that this season when Zach Collaros was there. He seemed to be a little more uncomfortable, but Dru Brown seemed to be so comfortable in that offense. Obviously, he's familiar with it because it's Tommy Condell's offense that he'd been working under in 2 years in Ottawa, but I just didn't expect it to be that smooth, right away from Dru Brown.
Hey, Joe, so like on Friday's show, I kind of said tongue in cheek to the guys when we were finishing up or heading down to the game, I sure hope we fire up the show on Monday and have a quarterback controversy on our hands. And I mean, it was more like, hey, listen, we really need a big performance from the quarterback. You got Chad Kelly coming in. They're going to need to be good. Hopefully they'll win, and that means a big game from Dru Brown. They're going to Ottawa this week. All signs point to Brown getting the start. If the offense looks great and he has another big game, do you think there'll be any decision for Mike O'Shea when Zach Collaros gets healthy, or is this going to be Zach's back, but if anything happens, Dru, and it's more for the future? Because they've said, we think Zach's the best quarterback in the Canadian Football League. I love Zach. He's done a lot for Winnipeg. I wouldn't make that statement. And listen, we've seen, again, small sample size against the Toronto defense. They'll have another chance to do it against Ottawa. But there's a lot of things that Dru Brown did in that offense on Friday that to be honest, we haven't seen consistently for the last year and a half.
Yeah. Oh, and this season, let's just go to this season, because last season with a different offensive coordinator was another story. Let's just go for the first 4 games up until his injury in Hamilton. The offense never looked as good as it did with Dru Brown at the helm. And I think Mike O'Shea is, he's a loyal guy. He's not going to just cast Zach aside, and he's going to give Zach every opportunity. And Zach's going to have to prove himself when he comes back. I think the other quarterback controversy is that when Zach does come back and he goes on the roster, where does Taylor Elgersma go? Are they going to carry 4 quarterbacks so they don't lose him?
That's a great point, because Bryce Perkins has been excellent in the short yardage role.
Yes.
And he's got some legs. I always thought that Elgersma would be a natural for that short yardage role. I mean, the guy's 6'5". I mean, I think if all we're doing is worrying about getting a yard,
he could just reach over the line of scrimmage with the football.
He certainly could do that, but I think they'd be loath to lose Elgersma. So I think they'll do what they have to do to keep him on the roster. And who knows? I mean, maybe there's a trade at some point, because I do think, like, especially when you look at what's going on in Hamilton right now, I mean, if you expose a quarterback right now, if the Winnipeg Blue Bombers expose a quarterback, I have a feeling they're as good as gone. I mean, that is just an absolute mess. Trey Ford isn't the answer, and Jake Dolegala isn't the answer either. And their season's done a complete 180. But it's a great point about some tough decisions to be made here in Winnipeg. Yeah,
very tough. And I want the Bombers to keep Taylor. I don't want to lose a Canadian quarterback, someone that they can develop, in their system. But there's only room for 3 on a roster, or at least a game day roster. And I can't see Elgersma, going to the practice squad.
It was interesting to get a little bit of a taste of Elgersma against Hamilton. Now, I've been saying the whole thing. They kept the training wheels on. I mean, they didn't open up the playbook. But at the same point, he went out and managed that game, and that's what it called for. They weren't down 17. They were right there in a dogfight. Hamilton's offense couldn't do anything. They managed field position. They managed ball control. And then when they got it late, they gave it to Brady Oliveira, and the offensive line led the way, and they got the job done, and that was a win. And we saw how excited he was at the end of the year. I think it's pretty clear he might not be ready to fully lead the Blue Bomber offense, and that's part of the reason why they got Dru Brown. It certainly looks like next year, pointing to a Brown-Elgersma combo. I mean, unless Zach Collaros decided to come back for another year, but he does have an expiring contract, and at that point, you've got some tough decisions to make based on salary and whatnot, and obviously Dru Brown's deal moving forward.
Yeah, and I know we talked a lot about the offense, but a shout out to the defense. You know, that the defense has looked really good the last couple of games, and especially in that Toronto game, because in the past, Toronto seems to have usually win the line of scrimmage when they're up against the Bomber defense. Their offensive line has won the day, but that Bomber defense was ferocious against the Argos on Friday night. And, maybe I haven't watched enough Bomber games, but did they blitz more than they usually do? They seemed to rush more than 4. They had 5.
Absolutely they did. Absolutely.
Where did this come from, and why didn't he do it sooner?
That's a great point. Well, Bombers in Ottawa. We'll talk a little bit more about what happened today at practice with Bauming later on in the program. Listen, Scooch, one of the reasons I love having you on this program is that obviously we can hit all sorts of different topics, but also we refer to you as, in a lot of ways, like the Winnipeg sports historian. And Remo, if you want to cue this up, if you want, we'll play this. In the last month, we lost an absolutely legendary curler in Orest Melischuk. And, for people that are a little younger, even if they're in curling, they might not be as familiar with him. But here's, what is this, Scooch? This is the 72 Silver Broom?
The 72 Silver Broom final, Orest Melischuk against Bob Labonte. Orest has got to make this shot, and the shooter's got to stick around to be second shot to force an extra end. But, did it go too far? That's Dave Romano looking. There's Bob Labonte coming in, and he kicks the rock, the famous kick rock incident. Now, because he kicked the rock, there should never have been a measure. It should have just been 2 points for Canada and right to the extra end. But Labonte said he didn't kick it, so they measured. It was close there. And this is the final shot for Orest Melischuk in the extra end. And he'll make a beautiful draw around the guards. And you'll see coming up, Labonte could not match the shot, and Orest goes on to win. And, one of the reasons I wanted to mention Orest Melischuk, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I haven't, and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't tried to go online and Google the Free Press and the Winnipeg Sun, even Curl Manitoba. They have not made any mention of his passing. And this was, back in the second last week of June. So I was kind of disappointed, that he wasn't getting, some maybe proper respect is what I should say, or acknowledgement of his career and what he meant for curling in Manitoba. I remember when he won in 1989, his second Purple Heart, second Manitoba championship. They gave out the little Labatt silver tankards, all right, pewter tankards, and he was planning to have a drink out of it, but he noticed that there was a hole drilled in the base of it. And he said, "Oh, I just noticed that there's a hole in there. We were going to drink out of this cup. Well, I'm going to find a way to plug that hole." And that was Oris. He was rough. Yes, he was emotional. He was gruff, but he was a true Manitoba curling legend, a world champion. And I just wanted to make sure that, Winnipeggers, Manitobans, acknowledged the great career and what he did for Manitoba curling.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that because I obviously wasn't born when that happened. And I think, people of my vintage, we kind of remember Kerry Burtnick and Stoughton and those crew. But Manitoba curling had been dominant for a long time. And there was a period where the Big O was the man.
Yes, he was. He was larger. He was larger than life. Everyone wanted to watch Oris play. Yes, he would smash his broom if the shot didn't go his way. I even saw him run out of time in one of curling. He lost one of the curling games in the provincials because the clock ran out on him, and he wasn't very happy about that. But he was fun. He was fun and a true character, and he will be missed.
Joe, great chatting it as always with you. Folks, give him a follow on X at Pascucci015. Joe, let's do this again, but stay cool. Enjoy the games on the weekend in the CFL, and I will talk to you soon. Appreciate you jumping on.
Great. See you later.
Good stuff. All right, there's Joe Pascucci. We're going to head to Buffalo in a minute. Our guy Marty Biron's going to join us. Looking forward to this one. Hey, folks, a big thanks to our friends at Princess Auto. A week Friday, Princess Auto Stadium's going to be rocking again. Bombers, Calgary Stampeders, Princess Auto's the place. Stadium's the place to be. In the meantime, the brand new flagship store of Princess Auto Coast to Coast is right here in Winnipeg, and it is the place to be. If you haven't checked it out, it's the biggest, best store that you've ever seen. They've added in hunting and camping and fishing departments. You can try a crossbow. You can work in the shop. You can grab a smash burger. You can grab a beer and walk around, for crying out loud. Free ice cream for the kids. The new Princess Auto, 500 Panet Road. Check it out. And, of course, you can always shop online at princessauto.ca. Our friends at Chud's Power Sports, ready for another great summer weekend. If you've been thinking about getting into a motorcycle, a dirt bike, an ATV, a side-by-side, how about a golf cart, or maybe getting out of the water with boat or outboard motor, or taking a trip with an RV, Chud's has it all. They've been Manitoba's power sports superstore for 80 years with the best and most experienced staff and incredible financing options as well on both new and used vehicles. Make the trip up to Gimli, corner of Highway 8 and 231. See the Derminator and the great people at Chud's. You can also get a head start on everything that Chud's has going right now with new used vehicles, financing, their promotions, clearance gear and accessories to True North Parts, all online at chudspowersports.ca. I see the Dr. Terry, mixing it up in the chat today. Great to see Terry. I was thinking about Terry. Of course, we'll do a Breezy Bend golf update for the amateur a little later on. But when you think of Dr. Terry and St. Patel Dental Center, think of a dental clinic that has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. They've now got a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with convenient free parking right behind the building. And they can take care of everything you and your family needs when it comes to dental, because they've got cleanings, checkups, all the way to things like dental implants. They do it all in one spot with an incredible staff and team. waiting for you and your family. So if you're looking for a great long-term home in Winnipeg, one of the top dental clinics around with their pal Dr. Terry, make an appointment today, stpateldental.ca. Tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Just as we bring in Marty Biron, we will be getting underway right about now for the World Cup. If you're looking for a great spot to watch today's game or the final, Boston Pizza is your World Cup headquarters. Great specials during the games throughout the World Cup. Awesome prizes. And, of course, ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and the big game on all of the big screens with awesome sound as well. Make your plans for the World Cup final at your local Boston Pizza. In the meantime, if you're ordering at home, you can get it hot and fresh to your door at bostonpizza.com. All right. We have been talking a lot about goalies. We've been talking a lot about the Buffalo Sabres. Who better to join the program to discuss than our good friend Marty Biron? Marty, what is going on? How's your summer been, pal?
Summer has been good, although today it is orange and yellow in the sky because of all the fires in northern Ontario, and all that wind has taken the smoke down to southern Ontario and western New York. So the next couple of days may be a little dicey outside, but it's been beautiful, and I've enjoyed my summer so far, although it hasn't really started because we're still talking hockey every day because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, in your town and ours. It's funny, my Instagram feed, every time I open it up, it seems like the guys at WGR are talking about a certain Winnipeg Jet netminder, and I can tell you here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we've talked a lot about the Buffalo Sabres. Marty, I mean, take us back to before the draft. A lot of noise about Hellebuck wanting out and the Buffalo Sabres may being a landing spot. How would you characterize what you're hearing about the back and forth between Yarmo and Chevy, and where things stand right now with the potential Hellebuck move to New York?
Well, it has been a long road, right? And it started when everything was happening the week before the draft and all the rumors, and Brady Tkachuk goes to Florida and Dylan Larkin wants out. And there's like so many moves that have happened. It was every day there was something crazy happening. So now, you know, it felt like it was an easy transaction between the Winnipeg Jets and the Buffalo Sabres. You know, if you're Buffalo, you put Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the trade, so Winnipeg gets a younger number one goaltender to go with what ended up being Stuart Skinner as a number two or a tandem because they signed him on July 1. You have a swap that could be easy between the 4th overall pick and the 8th overall pick. You can get a prospect. You can get a roster player. I felt like there was an easy trade to be made. Now, it got complicated because Winnipeg wanted the number 4 overall pick that Buffalo had, but they didn't want to give up 8. And Buffalo was thinking, hey, we are going to get a really, really good player, a great player in the top 10. At 4 or 8, we're fine, but we don't want to get out of that. So then they put a pin in it, and obviously it didn't happen, and Buffalo drafted Daxon Rudolph, and the Jets went on and did their thing, and that's fine. Now, after July 1, it gets a little bit complicated because all of a sudden, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has a no-trade list that he's submitting. There's 5 teams, and it complicates things. I still think there's a trade to be made. And maybe it's trying to convince Luukkonen that's the best for him, you know, a destination, or you move Luukkonen to a different organization. Maybe it's Alex Lyon that ends up going to Winnipeg. Lyon was fantastic last year. He's economical. He has 1 year left on his deal. And you could have a really good tandem with Skinner and Lyon. Maybe not what the Jets wanted in the first place. So now maybe the Jets are asking for a better roster player or a better prospect, you know, to go along with the package. So I think there's still a path to getting it done. Now, you mentioned the WGR boys in Buffalo. I just saw Jeremy White, who's a morning, host. He posted on X and on Instagram, the Jets are posting about their home opener. Players from the team pictures, but there's no Connor Hellebuck in any of those pictures, right? And so now, like, that's where you started to think, hey, this eventually is going to get done. It just about the package and maximizing the package for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it certainly feels like he's going to be traded. Whether that happens before training camp is a big question. And whether it is Buffalo or whether there's another team sort of lurking in the wounds. Like, this is the most public one because, A, we've heard widely reported that, first of all, the question is, well, Hellebuck's got a full no move. Does he want to go to Buffalo? I mean, this is a team, and listen, I'm a big Sabres guy. When the Jets didn't make the playoffs, we followed them every day.
Yep.
That was the team I was sort of pulling for. Love the fans there. They deserved it, and man, the scenes were amazing. But Marty, I mean, if we take for face value what Hellebuck said, hey, you know, I signed here to win a Stanley Cup. We took a big step back next year. You got to make changes. Yeah. And then all of a sudden wants out before we even get to the draft or July 1st. I think there's more to it about going to an American market. But the point I'm saying about Buffalo is they had a great 4 months. They won a playoff round. I'm still not sure, especially after losing Alex Tuch and Bolin Biron, that we're putting the Sabres in that top tier of Stanley Cup contenders. But the bottom line is for Buffalo, it sounds like he's willing to go. Would be a huge star acquisition for the Sabres. The question is, will Jarmo Kekalainen pay Kevin Cheveldayoff's price? And we know that he's been very patient in the past in similar situations.
No, absolutely. And you got to know the track record of GMs and how they go about doing their business. And are they going to be patient? Are they going to rush it? Like, I feel like the Sabres took advantage of maybe a Chicago team that was desperate to acquire a number one defenseman. And Bo Byram goes there, signs for $12.5 million. But the Sabres got a really great return, right? So maybe you win on one, and I'm not saying that the Sabres can lose on this trade, but maybe you say, you know what, we got to sweeten the pot and make it happen. Now, a lot of people in Buffalo are saying, is Connor Hellebuck the answer? My quick answer is yes. Look, I think with Connor Hellebuck, you beat the Montreal Canadiens last year. And then you probably end up facing the Carolina Hurricanes in the conference finals, and who knows what happens. But I do believe Connor Hellebuck, even though he's in his 30s and, you know, goalies in their 30s tend to slow down. I point to Sergei Bobrovsky, who won a couple of cups in his mid-30s. And Connor Hellebuck is an economical goaltender. He's not the one goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury was, or Igor Shesterkin or Vasilevsky, that relies on youthful athleticism. Connor Hellebuck relies on body positioning, quickness. He's very quick in the net, but it's not about the splits. And yes, he's got some athleticism, but that's not the number one tool of his trade. So I think that as an economical goaltender, he will have multiple years where he'll continue to play at a high level. Now, I'm not sure if it's Connor Hellebuck saying, I want out and I want out of Winnipeg, because you mentioned, like he said, I want to win a cup. I want to be part of the solution. He won two Vezinas. He won a Hart. He won trophies that made him where he's at with the Winnipeg Jets. But I also feel if you're the player and your team comes to you asking you, would you waive your no-trade clause? That means the team wants to explore the trade. So it's not just Hellebuck saying, like, well, could he come back to the Jets? It's more like, would the Jets want to have Connor Hellebuck back? So I think it's 50-50. And when that happens, it's better to just move on.
You know, hey, I should mention this segment is brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers. And the Toyota Tacoma, featuring the standard iForce engine, boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. It's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. And right now, you can lease a 26 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR for 60 months with $70.99 down at your local Prairie Toyota dealers. Marty, as far as the return in a trade for Connor Hellebuck, who, and I mean, I think people in Buffalo, maybe some fans that don't follow the Jets as much, need to realize, you mentioned 3 Vezinas, a Hart Trophy. I mean, the most decorated player in the history of this franchise Jets 1.0 or Jets 2.0. You're getting a player, not to mention Olympic hero, a person that, has a lot of star power now, far more than he ever did pre-Olympics, is going to be a tough trade for a team like the Jets to make, and it's got to make sense. Where the Jets are right now, they've drafted Vigo Bjork. There's a lot of excitement for him, and he may very well start right in the NHL, potentially playing in the top 6. But that center position has been a real area of need for Winnipeg. Yes. When we look at these players that the Sabres have, we've heard Josh Norris, we've heard potentially Ryan McLeod.
Yes.
And then I think the two players that are really intriguing to Winnipeg Jet fans because of where the team is getting a little older is Noah Ostlund. And the other one is the young player
Konsta Helenius.
Yeah, Konsta Helenius, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us about those players, and might it be a hesitancy to give one of those players up that's holding the deal?
It probably is. I mean, Noah Ostlund got injured in the Montreal series, and Lindy Ruff was quick to point out that with Noah Ostlund, this team was different. He took major steps forward this year, and Konsta Helenius got called up in the month of January, played 9 games. This was the youngest player in the AHL last year at 19, was fantastic, and I think he's going to be a centerpiece for a team, and they both can play center. They both also have been playing on the wing at times when they were needed to move out to the wing. So I think it would fill. But I look at the Jets and I'm like, you need a second line center. You need somebody to go behind Mark Scheifele, and it's not going to be Adam Lowry. Lowry's a third line center, in my opinion. So are you willing to say if you're going to move on from Connor Hellebuck, it's to acquire a young center that may not be ready for second line center spot? Or are you more looking at Josh Norris and or Ryan McLeod? To me, it makes more sense for the Jets to go for an established guy. Norris, it's a question mark because of the injuries. But when he is healthy, he's a top 2 center on any team. Like, I projected Josh Norris to be the number 1 center of the Buffalo Sabres next year, with Tage Thompson moving to the wing. Now, if you want Thompson to be a center, you put him 1, you put Norris 2. But it doesn't matter. Josh Norris is that good. He thinks of himself more of a goal scorer, but I think he's more of a playmaker. Konsta Helenius, he's got a great shot, a great edge to his game, despite the fact he's not that big, but he plays with an edge. Noah Ostlund is about as smart a hockey player as you could see in the game. Can play in all situations, and I think that's why the Sabres love him so much. So are you willing to move a younger player? That's number 1, but would the Jets be better off with somebody more experienced to fit in a second line center role? I think that would be where I would go if I was the Jets. Now, maybe I'm asking for another piece, right? So maybe it's a goalie coming back, and again, is Luukkonen wanting to go to Winnipeg or not? But even if it's Alex Lyon, that's good. Maybe it is a center, Norris McLeod, maybe one of the young players. Maybe you have a Jack Quinn part of the deal, to say, hey, that's going to help your top 6 as well and your top 9 eventually if you want that. But I think the Sabres have a lot of players in their top 9, and they'd probably be willing to part with at least 1, maybe even 2 of them. Now, there's Patrick Kane rumors in Buffalo that, well, if that deal was to happen and you have holes to fill in your top 9, Patrick Kane is apparently, kind of looking at Buffalo and Chicago as destinations. But right now, it doesn't seem to be a spot in Buffalo. So maybe that's kind of the insurance policy. We're going to move some players out, and then we can get Patrick Kane in Buffalo. So that's the way I see the return going for the Winnipeg Jets.
You mentioned Jack Quinn. He is a name that has been kind of bandied around as potentially coming back here. I mean, he's coming off a 20-goal, 51-point season, both career highs. He's 24, former 8th overall pick. Where is he at? And is there another level for Jack Quinn to get in the NHL? And what did you see last year from him?
I think there's another level for Jack Quinn, absolutely. I look at Jack Quinn, and We were actually on our way to Nashville, Tennessee for the draft 2 years ago. Well, the last draft was Buffalo. The draft before that was Sphere, and then it was Nashville. And we found out on the plane down to Nashville that Jack Quinn had suffered a Achilles tear while training in the summer and was going to miss most of the season. He came back for 20-some games that year, but it wasn't the same Jack Quinn. And I think that last year, the last 2 years really, you could see what he can bring to the ice. He's got a great shot. He's a righty that plays the left wing because he loves coming into the center and be able to take that shot from the middle. He's a power play guy. He's got a really, really solid one-timer. Is it Tage Thompson one-timer? No, but given the opportunity, it could be something that is a tool. I think this is a guy that should get you 30 goals. In the National Hockey League. He should. He's getting to 20, but, putting it all together, I think he should get you to 30 goals. I think there's still a question mark. If you're the Winnipeg Jets, you're like, well, he hasn't done it. And, maybe the first year was going to be recovering from the Achilles, and then last year should have been a step forward. He did a lot of really good things. That line with McLeod, Zucker, and Quinn basically stayed together the whole season. Whenever Lindy Ruff was moving pieces, he's like, I want that line together. Really love that line. Love Jack Quinn, love McLeod, love Zucker. But maybe it's time to change it up, and maybe it's time for Quinn to get a different opportunity. I love the player. I love the person. I think there's a lot of skills there. I wish he would have got to 28 goals this year, 29 goals. Then everybody would see what I'm seeing, but he didn't. He stayed at 20 goals, which it's a good number, but it could have been more.
Marty, we were talking about Consul Helenius and Ostland. The other guy that has been mentioned, I think part of it is just with how stacked Buffalo is on D.
Yeah.
With Dahlin and Power, 2 number 1 overall picks. Now you're bringing Zellweger. Is this Radim Murtka? I believe he's 19 years old. I mean, what do we know about him? And would he be a player that could potentially be in the mix?
Yeah, especially that they drafted Daxon Rudolph 4th overall this year, and they ended up getting Louis Crevier in the deals, young player from Chicago. When they traded Bo Byram, they got Matthias Samuelsson. They've got a lot of defensemen and high-end defensemen in the organization. I just watched development camp right after the draft here in Buffalo. The young players were there, and Murtka stood out. He stood out because he's big. Stood out because he's got a big frame. He played in Seattle in the WHL, but I think that next year is making the transition to the AHL, to the pro game already. I think the Sabres were looking at Murtka as a type of player that could fast track to the NHL, meaning, hey, you know what? He's going to play a little bit in the AHL, but we could see him in the NHL already in year 1. That's the thing that I think is so impressive with Murtka. Now, maybe not as fast tracking, not because it's not in the plans for Murtka. I think it's just not in the roster for the Sabres with adding Crevier, Zellweger, having Connor Timmins, having a Zach Metzel who played really well last year. You're already at 7. You signed a Dennis Gilbert. You've got 8, 9. You've already got a lot there. So maybe that is where the Murtka move could be coming from. Not that the Sabres don't believe in Murtka, but that you can acquire a Connor Hellebuyck by having to part ways with a Murtka when you just drafted a defenseman 4th overall. I think that's what we may see. Funny, I mean, apparently Murtka was in the Colton Parayko agreed deal with the St. Louis Blues at the deadline last year that Parayko said no to because he had the no trade clause. And so that's what was rumored, that Murtka was in there. Not that the Sabres want to get rid of Murtka, but they see value in potentially acquiring pieces with having Murtka in the deal.
For folks that aren't not familiar with him, the 9th overall pick in the 2025 draft.
Yeah.
He's 6'6", almost 220 right now. Not a big-time offensive defenseman. He just had 1 goal with Seattle, but did put up 34 points. I imagine he's playing a ton right now. So
Almost like in 40 games, like because of World Juniors or whatever. He's not a point a game close to it. 1 goal and 3 goals the year before. He's not a goal scorer, but he's so good. The one thing I noticed with him is the head is always up. Like when he shoots on net, he's looking for a deflection, a rebound. Like he's so good at getting the pucks through, not to score, but to create some offense.
Well, and that obviously is huge. Let me just ask you about UPL, because I would imagine that if this deal is happening, UPL is coming back. You know very well I mean, listen, guys have no trades. We know Winnipeg. Heck, Buffalo's on a lot of them too. But I mean, Winnipeg certainly is, at the top of that list. But if you're UPL, and let's say they have this trade made up, and part of it is UPL coming back here, there is, I mean, you might not want to leave. You might want to be there. Bottom line is, though, if Connor Hellebuyck is showing up in Buffalo, guess what?
You're not playing.
He's playing 63, 65 games a year.
Yes.
I mean, at that point, like, it's almost like coaching. There's only 32 jobs in the league. I mean, do you think, you know a lot more about him as a person. I mean, would he stick to his guns, or would he be a guy that would look at the opportunity going, hey, I want to play in this league. I actually want to be in the crease, getting opportunities to go and earning another contract moving forward? Or do you think it would be problematic? Like, I don't know the player at all.
It's funny because UPL is a great guy. And look, when he came over to North America from Finland, well, actually he went from Finland to Sudbury in the OHL, and then he transitioned to the pro game. He ended up going to the ECHL. He had hip surgeries, and then he had to go through, and he had no problems. And I'll make my way, right? Go to Cincinnati in the ECHL, then be the best you can be there, and then go through Rochester. And the Sabres have invested a ton in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in his development and where he's going to be. So I think this is maybe more of a posturing, kind of saying, okay, the rumor is that Winnipeg would be on his no trade clause, but I think that the reason you put them on is because you know that you've been rumored to have gone, so you want to make sure you have last say in it. Not that he doesn't want to go to Winnipeg and he doesn't see the opportunity that could be presented there, just that he would want it to be on his own terms, right? So that's the one thing. The thing that's interesting here is that I was just listening to Elliot Friedman with his 32 Thoughts podcast, and Elliot said, the Sabres are pretty comfortable bringing Luukkonen back with Lyon and Colton Ellis as a number 3 guy. But if they were to bring Hellebuyck in, it would be Hellebuyck with Ellis, meaning they probably would move on from Luukkonen and Lyon and just say, hey, we have Connor Hellebuyck, like you said. He could play 60 games and Colton Ellis can play 24, and we'll see where we go from there. They traded Devin Levi to the Edmonton Oilers. They don't have that fourth guy, really. So I think that for me, when I look at Luukkonen, and it's funny to say it, I'm from a different generation of players, but, I've been retired now 13 years. That's a different generation of players coming in. Like, I would never say no to a team that's like, come on in. If you're the Winnipeg Jets and you're willing to move on from Connor Hellebuyck and you're like, we want Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I would say, just get me to Winnipeg ASAP. I want to be playing for that team that says we are going to move from our 3-time Vezina Trophy winner, Hart Trophy winner, and we believe in you that you could be given up as good of production as Connor Hellebuyck. And maybe it's not going to be the same, but close enough, right? I would be getting a car and driving right away there. So that's me. And that's what I would tell Luukkonen if I would to talk to him and say, look, I don't know where you are, what you're thinking, but this is a team that wants you, if that's what is being presented. So, I mean, maybe it's just to make sure that it comes at the time where he feels it's okay. Summertime is always busy. Off the ice, players have a lot going on with family, especially European players that go back home and, some of them, get married or in weddings and whatnot. You want to have some time to think about it and make the right decision. So I think it's still on the table. And at the end of the day, I think it's just making sure that you have that protection. But I think if you're Winnipeg, yes, I would say do it for Luukkonen, because I think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is, number one, he's incredibly quick, incredibly athletic. He's big. He's had some battles, a few bad goals here and there, and we even saw that in the playoffs. But he doesn't seem like a guy that gets down on himself. He got pulled after game 2 of the Boston series, giving up a goal from center ice. And then when he was thrown back in the Montreal series, I mean, he won games for the Sabres. It wasn't like, oh, whoa, me. So I think this is a player that I could see Winnipeg having in the crease and being very, very successful in Winnipeg.
Marty, always great chatting with you. And who knows, maybe we'll have a couple more of these around a deal that comes to fruition at some point over the course of the next month or two. Just on the way out, away from the Jets and Sabres for a minute.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask you what your reaction was to the news out of Motown today that Stevie Y is no longer the president GM of the Wings.
So funny, when I heard that this morning, 2 things came to mind. I remember when Patrick Roy resigned from the Colorado Avalanche late in the summer, right? It was later in the summer. I'm like, man, Jared Bednar came in, and that doesn't give a coach a long time to adjust and to prepare. So I'm thinking the same thing now. Like, Steve Yzerman, you're mid-July. Like, what took so long to say, okay, I'm going to move on? Or what took so long for the Red Wings to force that to happen? You had the draft, the trades, free agency, the Dylan Larkin situation, all of it. You traded Sebastian Cossa away. That could have been a goaltender for your tandem for the future. Now you have Gibson and what is it, Tarasov, I believe, in Detroit. So yeah, so it's weird, right? You're not putting the next GM in the best situation for this year. Maybe long term, the next GM is going to have a plan, or maybe you don't want to call it a plan because the Yzer plan sure didn't work, and the Shanna plan in Toronto was not good either. So that didn't work. Maybe Brendan Shanahan comes in and he's like, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. That was another thing I was thinking. Shanahan, Rob Blake is a name that came to mind right away. Mark Bergevin is a name that came to mind right away because mostly he's an assistant general manager in Buffalo with Jarmo Kekalainen. But I think you need an experienced GM that's going to come in and not have Yzerman and the Illich like looking over your shoulder. You have to be able to do what you think is right to do and not be worried about it. So I was shocked that mid-July we were getting that news, because what's a GM to do now? Like Anthony Manta signed, like you're looking at Tarasenko and Kane and whatever. Like there's not a lot of work that can be done. This year is not going to be a good year in Detroit, and you're signing up for that.
Well, the only thing is, I mean, the elephant in the room is their homegrown captain, Dylan Larkin, who's requested a trade. And apparently he's given them 3 teams that I don't think they can meet the price right now.
He added one. He was given Minnesota, Florida, Vegas, and I think he added Dallas. Like, woo, you're really going out on a limb here with the teams. It's tough to make that deal when you're handcuffed like that.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe this is sort of an olive branch to Larkin, because, I mean, there was a lot of reported friction between Larkin, his camp, and Yzerman. Maybe this opens the door for a return, because I mean, that one I think is going to get ugly. And, you know,
the team's no better in Detroit, though. They're not that good. Like, I look at this roster, I look at this team, I'm like, they're no better than they were last year. And now, I mean, don't trade Larkin, whatever. But we're going to be talking about it in October, November, December, January, leading up to the trade deadline in February. Like, it's not going to be easy if Larkin is back.
No doubt. Marty, listen, I hope you have a great rest of the summer. Looking like $1 million US tax-free today with the shirt, the tie.
Well, I got to do a little TSN Sports Center hit that we got to do this afternoon. So talking exactly about a couple of things. Talking about the Detroit Red Wings, Steve Yzerman out and everything. And also talking about the Pacific Division. Kind of giving my rankings on the Pacific Divisions, where I see the Oilers, where do I see San Jose, Anaheim, the Flames, the Canucks? So we're doing that today.
Marty, you're the best, buddy. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. And we'll stay on top of the Hellebuck watch here in Winnipeg and in Buffalo.
Text me if you hear anything.
Will do. There's Marty Biron. Great stuff with Marty. One of the best. Love having him on the program. And that was great. All right. We are going to check in on the Bombers coming up in a few minutes. But so we wrap that Jets conversation. Hellebuck, maybe he'll be here. Maybe he won't when training camp comes. You know who will be here? Vigo Bjork. He is signed, sealed, and delivered to the Winnipeg Jets. And the Bjork jerseys are already getting made up and flying off the shelves at Royal Sports. If you want to get ready for that October 2nd home opener and the NHL debut in all likelihood at some point, certainly at home of Vigo Bjork, we'll get the full schedule tomorrow. Royal Sports is where you'll get it. The best selection of Winnipeg Jets merchandise and jerseys in town, along with a huge Bomber section, World Cup, and soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, tons of bikes, including e-bikes. Everything you need to dominate summer and look great for the upcoming season is waiting for you at Royal Sports. They're at 750 Pembina Highway. Pop in, get your 61 with the umlaut, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. The Fish are off into the weekend. They'll be back on the road for a couple series. They're back at home playing baseball a week Friday, the 24th, opening up a homestand. But this Saturday is the Ballpark Brew Fest, where the top local beers and distillers are joining beer lovers down at. Go to goldeyes.com for more information on the Ballpark Brew Fest and to get tickets. And then get ready to get back to Blue Cross Park for Gold Eyes baseball starting on July 24th. Got to thank our friends over at Travel Manitoba. Looking forward to getting our pal Michael Grajewski back on the show. And but hey, if you are planning your next adventure or thinking about what you want to do this summer to max out, hey, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. Assiniboia Downs back at it tonight. We will get to our picks a little bit later on, but first up, let's head out. Bauming coming through with a great background today. Look at this, live from Princess Auto Stadium. Bonfire Sports' Darrin Bauming. Bomber, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Feels good to be at the ballpark and getting ready for a road game. But anytime you're in these hollowed halls of Princess Auto Stadium, you kind of feel the resonance of what I call the madhouse. And capacity crowds every single game here.
Man, it has been a madhouse. I mean, the crowds at the last couple of games, I know they were 100 short of a sellout, but my God, the noise, the Vavel touchdown was a pop. I mean, I'm not sure. It's funny that it happened in that game against Toronto because I was sitting in the north end and, you know, that obviously happened starting there and going to the other side. It reminded me, noise-wise, of Janarian Grant, who, of course, was playing for the Argos when he was with the Bombers with that return to the house in the Banjo Bowl, which is obviously always the biggest game for a few years ago. It was phenomenal. But the noise of the crowds in the fourth quarter of the last two games, obviously the Bombers came back after that dud of a first half against Edmonton. They brought it, and people, man, were locked in that fourth quarter against the Toronto Argonauts. And I think it had a big part of the Bombers getting a road win, if you will, because, of course, it was Toronto's home game, but obviously Bombers' home game. But listen, it's all been good. They're not at home this weekend, though. They're going to Ottawa, and I'm sure around practice for the last couple days, it's been all about the quarterback situation and Dru Brown. You've been out there. First of all, tell us what was happening on the field and what that might tell us about the way the depth chart's going to look on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be Dru Brown. I am certain without being told directly. It's quite evident and obvious. He's running the first team offense, was yesterday on day one, was again today on day two. Zach Collaros not available to the media, not able to speak. So presumably they didn't have an injury report yesterday, just kind of a wrinkle in the CFL injury report, protocols, but not available today as well. So he is not a participant. It's Taylor Eldersma running the second team offense. So it's going to be Dru Brown on Sunday in what everybody, like I've been calling it, it's going to be an FU game, right? You have Tommy Condell, the offensive coordinator, cooking up the game plan, going up against the team that he was with the last 2 years who decided to move on from him. And then the starting quarterback, Dru Brown, who is also going up against the team that decided to move on from him. The comment from Ryan Dinwiddie, I think that has echoed over and over again, is when Dru Brown, asked, like, did they give you any reason, that sort of thing? He's like, well, maybe my arm strength isn't there, is what they told him. It seems like such a ridiculous comment, almost a throwaway comment. I wonder if that was just, to have an answer other than we're going with our guy, Jake Mayer in Ottawa. But if my live chat on the postgame show on Bonfire was any indication, people, Bombers fans or otherwise, a lot of criticism and finger pointing at Ryan Dinwiddie, who is the head coach and the GM of the Ottawa Redblacks. This was his decision top to bottom. It's going to be fascinating on Sunday to do that. And I'm really glad you brought up Janarian Grant and the Argos Hustler, because we all know the Bombers special teams, especially this year, have been so good. But there's Janarian on the other sideline thinking, gosh, that could have been me getting that great blocking and going 129 yards to the house in a field goal return touchdown. I know we're going to miss those next year and moving forward.
Yeah, listen, man. I mean, 129-yard missed field goal, trust me, that was a huge topic. Any CFL circles, regardless of who you pull for. Those upcoming changes that are planned for next year continue to be a hot topic, even more so when something like that happens. I will say this, just overall, though, the new clock, some of those things, it's really juiced up the game. I mean, I'm looking at the totals. We did CFL 110 this morning with Hammer, and, like at the start of the season, we were getting kind of mid-50s totals, maybe 58 was like the biggest. They're now regularly into the 60s, yes. And it's just more plays. The execution's been great. A few of them have gone down, though, because of big quarterback injuries, especially in Hamilton. I mean, you want to talk about one injury completely doing a 180 on a season. They look like they could absolutely win a Grey Cup with the way Bo is rolling. And right now, I'm not sure they win a game with the quarterbacks they're throwing out there.
I think the Hamilton Tiger Cats, prior to that injury, were, I would say, one of the true powers in the CFL. Offenses, lots of questions to Mike O'Shea and Tommy Condell and Jordan Younger today. It was Taylor Allen, who I know joins you guys quite often here on WST, Winnipeg Free Press, writing about these historic offenses, both the individuals, Justin Rankin on his way to 1K rushing, 1K receiving, Tyson Philpott and the receiving record that he's already after. Like, he's got over 700 yards receiving. We're not even a third into the season. But the offenses as a whole, points, yards, everything is hugely up this season. And why that might be. And there's a lot of different theories and all of that. But, when it comes to the Ticats, they're in some serious trouble, Hustler, because, they're grabbing guys off the street, UFL quarterbacks, CFL free agents, McLeod Bethel Thompson, Jake Dolagala, McLeod Bethel Thompson with Ottawa. But all these old names are being stirred up again, in East Division teams that are looking for answers at quarterback. But for the Ticats, I mean, as soon as that injury happened to Bo Levi Mitchell, I immediately jumped on the Montreal Alouettes to win the Grey Cup. Put a little sprinkle on that. When it comes to the over-under lines, I mean, early in the year, I was hammering the overs, doing really well in that sense. I've never been a huge gambler, but this year, and just, if you watch all of the games like I do, it's pretty foolproof if you know where to pick.
Overs were 12-2 in the first 4 weeks of the season.
And one of my favorites is, I know it's maybe not available on all the sports books, but one in particular is if you bet on both teams to score at least 20 points or more, or both teams to score 25 points or more, with plus odds. I've been hammering those and doing outstanding. Even teams that, they're not expecting to score a lot of points, they get 20, they get 25. Those have been great things.
Fade Hamilton on those ones. Fade Hamilton on that one for the next little while to put them on the suspended list.
We talk a lot about those over numbers. The in-game betting. Fascinating.
The Hammer is a live fiend. I mean, he has his script for the games, and then the minute one thing happens, he's getting on the other side.
You asked him where he learned about the second half point spread, and was hammering that a couple years ago. You asked him where he got that.
I would say, though, on those both teams to score 20 or both teams to score 25, put the Ticats on the suspended list for a little while. I don't know how they're going to. It'll be interesting. I mean, they've got the Argos defense coming in. They're at home on the weekend in that one. But listen, just back to the Bombers.
Yeah.
One of listen, there's a lot of real positives, and we focus all in on the quarterback, whatever you want to call it, the quarterback situation. Dru Brown, he'll get all the attention. But man, it was a very different look for the Blue Bomber defense. Sending a few more guys, actually getting some pressure on the quarterback. Willie J with 2 big sacks. This was a definite departure from the way Jordan Younger's defense has been set up and called for the last little while. Do you anticipate more of that moving forward, especially against Jake Maier? I mean, Maier's a guy that can get it there, I think, if you give him a lot of time. To me, it was really nice to see them beef up the pressure on the quarterback, and credit to the guys in the secondary, even against air attack like Toronto's, right, that bore a lot of fruit for the Winnipeg defense and forced a lot of third downs.
Blue Bombers defensive coordinator Jordan Younger spoke specifically to this today when asked about the league as a whole, but he spoke to his defense and what he knows, and self-proclaims that he's a guy that he was a safety, he was a defensive back, he focuses on that back end, and the delicate balance that is the CFL today between going big as far as body types, linebacker style, versus defensive back style, and bringing in an extra safety or an extra dime backer or strong side linebacker, Retta Cramdy, Michael Griffin II, guys like that, and balancing those bigger guys and putting pressure on quarterbacks, or going smaller and faster and leaving the ball in the hands of the quarterbacks a little bit longer, but having better coverage downfield. And, it's what's your talent level, what's your scheme, what's your opponent's, what are the strengths of your opponent and your quarterback in particular? How are they looking to attack you? It's a delicate balance. There's been a lot of criticism on Jordan Younger's defense in Winnipeg over the last few years, in particular last year when they would just rush 3 guys so often, and Willie Jefferson's sack numbers and his knockdown numbers were still great, but his sack numbers were down. This year, they're mixing it up a little bit more. I think having Jake Serezna, a bona fide veteran impact player at defensive tackle in the middle of that line, helps Willie J a lot. But I think they're mixing things up a little bit more than they used to. And anytime you're able to be a tendency breaker in football, your opponent doesn't know what you're going to throw at them on a play-to-play basis. It's working in Winnipeg's favor. I really wonder if this defense has turned a corner, Hustler.
Well, that would be nice because with the quality of quarterbacking, especially in the West right now, when this team gets into these big divisional games next week, Vernon Adams and Calgary coming in, they're definitely going to need it. DB, excellent stuff. I know Nick Dembski out. What's the level of concern about his availability for the weekend?
Yeah, all these mysteries when it comes to availability and players in particular, and injury reports, not sure. One thing I know about Nick Dembski is that he's done this many times before, essentially taking the entire week as maintenance, taking the week off of practice, and good to go for the game. Brady Oliveira didn't practice yesterday. He was back there on the field today. He's good to go. A lot of these guys, I don't know, it's the Winnipeg water, whatever it is in West Winnipeg with Oliveira and Dembski and Andrew Harris back in the day. They're resilient. They are tough. They're going to find ways to play. If they feel they can contribute, they're going to want to be dressed and on the field.
Bomber, it's a Sunday game this week, which means bonfire after dark, post game, of course, after the game. When are you going to be cooking things up? We'll be back on this week and going to be setting it up. When will we see it?
Yeah, this year's been fun trying to wrangle Walby because he's at the lake and his son bought a cabin. And he's trying to help him. They're like, he's pulled 6 ways from Sunday, right? I think I'm going to head out to Walby's cabin, Casa de Walby, and maybe do Game Day Winnipeg, our pregame show, on the dock.
Yes.
Have some cold ones, or coldies as Walby likes to call them, and do it there. But we'll get that going Saturday, whether it's noon or a little bit later. We always go live on Bonfire, as your viewers know. And post game as always, me and Schnitzy, we'll get that going Sunday, and then he'll be back on your airwaves on WST with the Bombers Report with Connor Hrabchak on Monday. So he's a busy guy too.
Lots to talk about, but Bonfire Sports, make sure you sub and turn your notifications on so when the fellas get it live, especially if it's from the dock at Walby's, like that might be the greatest episode of all time, to be perfectly honest with you.
We did poolside last year. We're going to go lakeside this year.
Perfect. Hey, listen, thanks a lot for stopping by, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Always good, Huss. Take care.
Right on. All right, there's Darrin Bauming, Bonfire Sports, down at the stadium today. Bombers practicing ahead of Sunday's Dru Brown revenge game. We're going to bring in Jake Bolin-Moss from Coolbet in just a minute. We'll fill you in on how the Bomber line is looking for the game. Got to shout out our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. If you are looking for just a world-class fishing experience, fly in where you can be on the water in a couple hours from the city of Winnipeg. Aikens is the spot. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is, it's the world-class hospitality that really makes the Aikens experience special. Go to aikenslake.com to find out more information about all the options available at Aikens Lake, as well as availability for the remainder of this year and obviously booking well into 2027 right now. And make sure to check them out for more of the Aikens experience on all the socials at Aikens Lake. Breezy Bend Golf Report for our friends at Breezy, and today is the final round of the Not Autocorp Men's Provincial Championship, and it looks like it is over. And congratulations go to Rory Neal of Glendale Golf and Country Club. Rory had a 5-under tournament highlighted by a 3-under final round today. He finishes with a 2-shot lead over Drew Jones of Shiloh. Caleb Lambert was 3 shots back from Elmhurst at 2 under par. 4 1-unders. Evan Nachtigal, also from Elmhurst. Jack Morrow from Whitewater. He had that great 5-under par round yesterday. Nathan Lepore and Jay Doyle, who I think is Dr. Terry's pal from Niagara. Ryan Blair at Elmhurst. But congratulations are in order to Rory Neal of Glendale as this year's amateur champion, taken over from Braxton Coots, the multi-time winner of the amateur from Breezy Bend, who is now gone pro. Of course, our golf reports are brought to you by Breezy Bend. Click on breezybend.ca for more information about membership options at one of the finest courses around and here in the city of Winnipeg. All right, Jake's queued up. We're going to get ready for the Open Championship tomorrow, CFL and more, and of course, what's going on right now at the World Cup. First, let's crack a cold one. Give a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get JBM here. We're at halftime of the England-Argentina World Cup semifinal. JBM, what's going on? Have you been keeping an eye on this game through the first half?
Yeah, trying to keep a good eye on it here, Huss. Pretty aggressive, I will say. They're playing pretty tight football. Both teams, not really giving a whole lot and not really giving much, but we'll see. We saw that one yellow card came there just recently, but I don't know. Are we going to see someone get booked today? It feels like these two teams don't like each other, and there's some bad blood kind of underlying here in this match.
A lot of history between these two countries, England and Argentina. Right now at the half, a 90-minute draw is plus 120. England to win in reg is plus 215. Argentina plus 270. And do we have the qualify number? To qualify, so just do it. So England minus 125, and that can include extra time or penalties. Argentina, even money if you want to get on those. Listen, before we get over to the Open Championship and some highlights of course, the extended episode of WST Winners, which if you do want a real deep dive from all of us into our favorite plays, it's up on the YouTube channel from yesterday. We did do CFL 110 this morning, myself and Jeff Hamilton. Here's the way the lines are shaping up for the Canadian Football League this week. It starts off not on Thursday, unfortunately. We got to wait till Friday for the game, but it's BC and Edmonton. First up, BC plus 3.5 on the road in Edmonton. The 4-1 Elks minus 3.5. The Alouettes are 1.5-point favorites in Calgary against the Stampeders. The Argos are 5-point favorites against the Ticats, and the Bombers laying 4.5 in Ottawa against the Redblacks. You know, I was going to send this in to you, but Jake, I may as well give it to you live on the air and people can know what's coming. This is what we were thinking about for the CFL 110 parlay this week. We're going to take BC plus 3.5. We're going to take the Bombers minus 4.5. And I'm not sure how you want to do this. We want to take Toronto and it's minus 5. So do we just move it half a point so it's not an even number?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say probably just move it in your favor to 4.5 because you're going to get a boost on it anyways. So no sense in getting crazy. Just move it to 4.5 and we'll go plus 3.5 on BC, minus 4.5 on Winnipeg, and minus 4.5 on Toronto.
Awesome. And I guess because we're changing that line, we'll probably have that end up in the exclusives under Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Yeah, most likely. Yep.
Perfect. For the record, we are on opposite sides. We had a real fun discussion about that Montreal-Calgary game this morning on CFL 110. But the full hour show is up right now. Get it on the podcast feed as well. And Jake, this is a perfect time to remind people, both which they can get in under sports at Coolbet League at the bottom of the page. Today, you want to get your CFL picks in. Week 7 is open. You can fill us in on that. And then, of course, the free open pick'em contest, which has over $1,000 for cool bettors with absolutely no cost to play.
Yeah, it's time to get in, like the thing with the open is I know like you could probably wake up tomorrow morning in most majors and you could still get your picks in if you were early enough, but it's starting overnight. Like, and this thing's going to shut down. I think I have it set to shut down around 2 a.m. So make sure you're going over to the Coolbet League page. You're locking in your picks for the open. And then, you already mentioned with the CFL, we don't have the game starting until Friday. You got a couple days to, reset for your Friday CFL and lock in those picks in the league as well. So, a ton of fun stuff going on this weekend. It's kind of the last big weekend with the World Cup ending and the final major of the season. We're going to be heavy CFL. We're going to be heavy MLB kind of the rest of the summer here until we're into football season.
Yeah. So Remo, actually, if you want, just pop back to the golf one for a minute. The one you want to pick, there's a private PGA one. The one you want to pick is the one with the Cool Bear and the green shirt that says predict the open and win prizes. If you click on that one, I just want to show people what to do. So these are the matchups.
Sorry, we got some breaking news here about the Perfetti extension.
Oh, wow. Breaking news sounder? Breaking news sounder in the middle of the segment?
Sorry, I didn't bring it up because I was just confirming this. Elliot Friedman has it right now. Sorry to interrupt, but do you want me to tell you the number? Or do you want me to play the sounder? I don't have it ready to go.
Oh, yeah. Just let's get to it. So it sounds like we've got a Cole Perfetti deal.
We've got a Cole Perfetti deal. Here in Cole Perfetti and the Winnipeg Jets avoid arbitration with a 5 year times 6 million AAV extension. There it is.
Boom. 5x6 for Cole. 5 more years in the peg. Congratulations to the kid on the deal. Congratulations on. Listen, we'll finish this, but we'll go why not question of the day right now for not Autocorp but Waverly and McGillivray. Let us know in the chat. What do you think about the Jets and Cole Perfetti seemingly meeting in the middle on a 5-year, $6.6 million AAV extension? I got to say, at first thoughts, considering what the Perfetti camp wanted was something along the lines of the Chinnikov deal, which was 6.25 times 3 years. I think the number makes sense for Winnipeg, and certainly the term I think is good for both. 5 years at a reasonable number, and hopefully young Cole can have a couple breakout seasons, be some good value, and put himself in line for an even bigger contract when the 5-year ends. But let us know in the chat. Perfetti signs 5 years, $6 million AAV to stay in Winnipeg with the Winnipeg Jets. Good work on the breaking news. We'll finish up with Jake, and then we'll get to fan feedback from this. But Reem, if you can, just click on that the Coolbet, the golf pick'em there, so we can show people. I had a couple of people texting me today wondering whether they put, is it -1, is it +1? This is really simple. You were just predicting scores. So the first matchup is Bryson DeChambeau and Shane Lowry. If you think that DeChambeau is going to have a tough day and he's going to shoot 75, you just put in 75 right in that. You can click it the entire way if you want, or just put the cursor in there and drop the 75. Think Shane Lowry's going to shoot 72, you put in 72. And then essentially you'll get 3 points if you have the correct winner of the matchup. So say I have Shane Lowry at 72 and he shoots 65 and Bryson shoots 80, you'd get 3 points for the correct. Now, if Shane Lowry shot 65, but Bryson DeChambeau shot 75, you'll get the 3 points for the correct match result. But if you get the result plus the correct amount of goals, in this case strokes, you'd actually get 6. And if you nail it and it was 75 for Bryson and 72 for Lowry, you'd end up getting the full 10 points. So you want to get on the right side of the matchups and then hopefully get fortunate with laying it out. Do those matchups for round 1 are DeChambeau, Lowry, Vic Hovland and Bobby Mack, Morikawa and Hatton, Ludwig Oberg, Xander Schauffele, Matty Fitz and John Rahm, and then Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler. Lock it in, press send predictions. And as Jake mentioned, tomorrow evening, go back. It actually works out quite well because I think it'll open quite early because it'll finish early. So tomorrow after work in the evening, you'll have the entire time to lock in your picks. And again, the prizes are great. $500 plus Coolbet merch for first, $250 plus merch for second, $150 plus merch for third, and then $100 and 100 free spins over in the casino for fourth, and 50 and 50 for fifth place. So some great prizes, completely free. If you haven't done it before, just simply go to Coolbet, make an account, and then get on over to the Coolbet League, the Pick'em. It's completely free. And we wish you all good luck in the Open Championship. Come and get me, Michael Remis, everyone else that's playing. And again, it's never too late to sign up for the CFL Pick'em. $50 on the line every week, and you can still get on a bit of a heater, nail a few games, and get in the mix for that great Grey Cup trip. Jake, speaking now that we've got the Pick'em cut, we certainly got after it and made the most of, first of all, the heater that Patty and I were on coming out of the Tom Kim 66-1 and the Sunday Sweat Club cashing in almost 19-1 last week. But I really like what we've cooked up coming out of WST winners for the final major of the year yesterday.
Yeah, listen, we spared no expense. We got every parlay in the book. We've got a lot going on. Obviously, you guys had to hit the rewind button on last week's winner, 20-1. That was up for the Scottish Open. So you got that one up again. And then, if you scroll across the combo cards, we got our top 20 parlay, Reed, Minwoo, and Hatton. That was almost a bad boys parlay, but we just couldn't sell ourselves on old Bryson there. The top 30 parlay with Bhatia, Griffin, and Kiefer, your boy Johnny Kiefer. And we also got the groups Huss. Connors, top Canadian, Rory, top Irish, Tom Kim, top Korean, and Ryan Fox, top New Zealander, top Kiwi. So that'll be an exciting weekend. A ton of options up in the Coolbet combo cards. Like, listen, if you're not starting your day, if you're opening Coolbet for the day and you're like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to get in on today, scroll the top of the combo cards. This might be something, you don't necessarily have to lock something in there, but it might be something that catches your attention to be like, oh yeah, forgot the Open was on this weekend. Oh yeah, I forgot the World Cup finals on this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they had a nice super boost. I jumped on it for England today to qualify today. And just that rewind was called Sunday Sweat Club Rewind. This is the one we won with last week. But current form, really important going into a tournament like this. Bobby Mack, Tom Kim, and Goddard. Mack was, I think, 3rd or 4th. Tom Kim won. Goddard didn't have a great Sunday and still finished 10th or 11th. That one's plus 1670. And, of course, Patty has got a couple of the Greggy Golf specials. This is one I'll be going on. Burns, Akshay, Ryan Fox, Patrick Reed, all to make the cut, boosted to plus 460. And then he's got a top 30 parlay for the Greggy Golf special. Aaron Rye, Bobby Mack, Victor Hovland, all top 30 at plus 854. So lots to get to. Again, the full amount of just spend a little bit of time taking a look at the futures for the Open Championship. Nice to see. I see they've added round 1. So if you want to rock some first round leader bets, those are open as well. I'm definitely going to be diving into a few of those. And again, Scotty Scheffler's your favorite at plus 750. Rory is at 9-1. Wow. Matthew Fitzpatrick, the steam on Fitz is crazy. He's now down to 14-1. Tommy Fleetwood 16, Rahm 22, Xander 25, Morikawa 28, and Hovland 29. Those are all the players under 30-1. Jake, I'm not sure how this is going to shake out. Like 95% of people that I've seen making picks for this tournament have taken Matt Fitzpatrick, and we're seeing it in the odds. If Fitz somehow wins this tournament, it could be a disaster for a lot of sports books, I'm thinking.
Yeah, we're definitely not rooting for Fitz this weekend. I mean, we're still holding 20-1 over in the PME exclusive. So, our guys have it under control, and we're probably, like you said, we're probably rooting for a lot of other guys outside of Fitz. So we'll see kind of what we're looking like come the weekend. But yeah, it's a bit concerning. It feels like a lot of people are on Fitzy this week. That's the one thing I noticed when we were locking in our picks yesterday.
Well, exactly. And listen, I mean, it's down to 14-1 on the main board, but if you click on the exclusives, the PME weekly boost, it's still there at 20-1. So take advantage of the best number you will find anywhere for Matt Fitzpatrick right now if you want to jump on the wagon and ride with Fitzy. Open Championship gets underway early, I think like 1 a.m. our time. So make sure, get your picks in for the pick'em, any of the wagers you want to get, and should be a real fun weekend at Royal Birkdale. Jake, great stuff. Anything else you want to hit? I know you want to get back to the second half.
Yeah, listen, if you're looking for the link to the pick'em, I did just start in the WST Discord and the golf channel. I know I saw some people were asking for it there. So I know usually I'm in there kind of weekly in the CFL channel, reminding everyone to lock in their picks for each week. Same kind of deal. I've put the link in the golf channel of WST Discord. So if it's easier for you to find the link there, that's where you go. You log in, you make your picks. I'll make my picks as well tonight. Make sure those are locked in before kind of that first tee time, like you mentioned, us, and then we'll be underway starting when you wake up tomorrow morning.
Love it. Cannot wait. Jake, great talking to you yesterday. Say hi to Pat. We'll see him tomorrow. We'll break down round 1 of the Open Championship. Take it easy.
You too, Lewis.
Coolbet.com is where you'll find it. If you start a new account, you do want to make your first deposit, put in WST for a promo code. Double your first bonus up to $100, but you don't need to deposit for the CFL Pick'em or the Open Championship pick'em. Just go make an account and get ready to go. All right, Remo, a little WST overtime as the kickoff is about to go for the second half of the World Cup. We have a Cole Perfetti deal, 5 years, $6 million. First thoughts from you?
Yeah. I was in the middle of what's it called? Getting my horse picks in, and Connor texted us that Elliot had tweeted this out. So shout out to Elliot as I'm getting ready to post it on our social media here. But my first thought was, isn't this what we said it was going to be? And I'm really happy they were able to avoid arbitration. Happy that Cole Perfetti is able to get a long-term deal. But I think you and Brandon, we put out a reel last week of you guys speculating on it, and you said between $6 and $6.5 million. And there were a lot of comments in that video saying overpaid, he hasn't earned it, blah, blah, blah. And I guess you guys certainly nailed it in your conversation. So I don't think it's a really huge surprise, and you're happy that it's done. You can move on. Maybe the Jets social media knew something when they posted that video or the picture carousel, 11 picture carousel promoting the home opener and included Cole Perfetti. Maybe they knew that it was just about done, that contract.
Cole Perfetti in the player montage. Connor Hellebuck, nowhere to be seen in the player montage. You be the judge. Let's get to some just some thoughts from people on the trade before we break. Yes, waiters, perfecto. T. Will, Winnipeg Puck, overpaid snail. It's not very nice, Winnipeg Puck. Dan Jets fan, 5.5/6 is what I thought it would be. Awesome. Phyllis, welcome back. Fetsy, T. Will reported it first. Hashtag insider. Comet, slight overpay, but still has upside. Running man 5.6. I'm okay with that for Perfetti. Leslie, Misduck, nice. Not a crazy amount, and 5 years is pretty good. And boring Sean Monahan should have held out for 6.7. And T. Will, Chevy hates using the decimal button on his calculator. Confirmed. Tyson, I said 4/6, but happy to get the extra year. Bardo, good deal for both the team and Perfetti. B. Henderson, is that signing the Viggo Bjork effect? Big Bad Mark, solid contract for both sides. And T. Will, I would agree that Perfetti is worth about half a KFC. 5.6, better have a bounce back year. Comment, I'm glad for 91 to work on the mental game. And then Biff Spliff, heli trade soon. I'm vibing. Not an overpay, MIO, but we'll see. And there we go. I hope his feet get quicker. Well, we'll see about that. Bottom line for Perfetti, Reem, especially now with this kind of, he doesn't have to worry about anything. You just hope that he can have a bit better injury luck and get out of the gate, be in that lineup on October 2nd for the home opener at Canada Life Center, and take advantage of what's going to be a pretty glorious opportunity for a lot of minutes, power play time, all of that. It's going to be now up to Cole to make the most of this contract moving forward.
Yeah, and he was 2 years away from UFA, right, Huss?
Yeah.
So you're buying 3 UFA years on this 5-year deal. So that, when you're saying, okay, what is this contract worth? Because again, the people in our comments thought you and Brandon, I don't know, were heavily medicated, suggesting he'd be.
Oh, geez. People in the comments section with bad takes, you won't say.
The Facebook, the receipts on the Facebook comments of you and Brandon saying he's going to get 5/6 or 6.5. Crazy. But, he had a really good year 2 years ago, 24, 25, 50 points in 82, and we know he was injured to start last year. The production was absolutely not there. Probably cost him a little. He did pick it up later. I think in his defense, again, he was definitely not at 100%, and also hasn't really been given, some of the line mates as well. We'll see how it works if he's playing with Viggo Bjork. I mean, he was after the break last year, he had 14 points in 26 games, and maybe he could be, I guess there's 84 games now. Could he be a 50 plus point guy? He could certainly, in the right situation, set career highs this year. And he's going to be a big part of the Jets' secondary scoring, and they need that. They didn't have that to start. He picked it up a little, but he's going to need to take another step here. So you like getting the guy locked up, and I'm sure he's going to be playing comfortable this year. You don't have to worry about a contract or about a long term. He's going to be locked in, and you hope that he comes in 100% healthy.
Well, and let's see what happens when, if they have a second line center. I mean, listen, Cole, say what you want about Cole and Cole's play, and certainly there's been some ups and, some downs, and he had to deal with that injury. We've talked so much about how that line, I mean, heck, he was with Gus Nyquist for a long time. I mean, let's just hope that the situation on line 2, assuming Perfetti's on it, is very, very different. And although that will, I mean, if it is Perfetti and Viggo and someone else, you got 2 pretty small players. Wouldn't mind some muscle or a little bit of physicality of some guys to help those out. But listen, Cole Perfetti gets a deal. Cheers to him. We'll have to give him a marble on Friday. And the Jets move on to figuring out what to do with their all-star goaltender. Just under $5 million in cap space right now. We'll see what happens after any more moves are made. We should mention Anthony Mantha's off the market. He signed a 2-year deal with the Buffalo Sabres today. But Cole Perfetti's deal's done. Jets get 3 UFA years. It's a 5-year extension beginning this season. And once again, October 2nd, mark it down. Friday night, Boston Bruins, Winnipeg Jets home opener for the 26-27 season. Tomorrow on the show, we get the schedule, and we will dive into that big time tomorrow, both for all the homestands as well as check out the road games. Maybe plan a trip or two for Jet fans with WST. That's all coming up tomorrow on the program. We'll also break down the deal with Brandon as well as Jeff Hamilton. And then Murat Atesh is going to join us on Friday. So we'll have the latest on Hellebuck's situation. And, of course, we'll get ready for the Bombers and Redblacks, AJ Jakubek coming on. But tomorrow, full reaction. Probably hear from Cole Perfetti as well, I would imagine. And get you ready for the week in the Canadian Football League. But I think there'll be a lot of hockey talk tomorrow with the Jets schedule and more reaction to the Cole Perfetti signing. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Joe Pascucci. Thanks to Jake Bolin-Moss. Thanks to Marty Biron. Thanks to Darrin Bauming and all of you for being here. And, of course, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make Winnipeg Sports Talk happen each and every day. Still 0-0 in the second half of the World Cup semifinal, England and Argentina. I'm going to go turn the TV on and enjoy that. You all should too. In the meantime, have a great evening. Check out CFL 110. It's up on the channel. The open preview for Coolbet, that's up on the channel. And we will see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here live on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.